You're about to enter into a new world of knowledge, curiosities, and high strangeness. This is a podcast of Straight Up Strange Productions.
You're listening to Mysteries and Monsters. I'm your host, Paul Bestall. It's a warm welcome to our friend Mike Familant as we catch up with everything Bigfoot and his channel, The Shadow of Big Red Eye. With a packed itinerary including his ongoing speaking tour, conference appearances galore, filming episodes for his YouTube channel, along with field research and expeditions out on the hunt for the hairy hominid, Mike fills us in on a busy couple of years. But before all that, don't forget you can support Mysteries and Monsters by signing up at patreon.com/Mysteries and Monsters. $4 a month gets you ad-free episodes guaranteed, early releases, bonus content, and more. Thank you to my latest patrons, Ty and Zara. Your contributions are greatly appreciated. And to each and every one of you that support me and the show, thank you. Mysteries and Monsters is across most social media platforms. Please subscribe to the Mysteries and Monsters channel on YouTube. You can also visit mysteriesandmonsters.com for news and episodes. Our exclusive merchandise site is available via TeePublic. You'll find the link for that in the show notes too. Our intro and outro music are performed by the marvellous Weary Pines. Thank you as always to Dean Bestall for his wonderful artwork, and the show is produced by Mr. Brennan Storr of the Ghost Story Guys. So let's welcome Mike back as we dive into the wonderful world of Bigfoot. Mike Familant has been investigating and researching North America's most renowned cryptid for over 15 years now. With a packed tour pulling attendees in their droves, be it Sasquatch or Bigfoot, the Grassman or the Skunk Ape, the elusive hominid continues to be the focus of Mike's research. Mike, a very long and overdue welcome back, my friend.
Well, thank you for that intro. I appreciate you having me back on the show. That was wonderful. Thank you. And it's been way too long. We got to do this more often.
Absolutely. This is as I'm sure you will often find sometimes, Mike, with the work you do and the speaking engagements you have and the locations you go squatching. I think sometimes we forget how quickly time passes in these kinds of things, because I often sit down to speak to people and then, as with yourself, I look and I think, October 2022, was it really that long ago?
Then you look at what it is now and it's 2026 and it's like, oh my goodness, it's already But it's very true with what we do, and especially with what I do with my schedule. It's hard to sit down and actually connect with people. And I will say I had an event this past weekend, and I was able to, for like once in like a million years, but able to sit down with everybody that was at the event, all the attendees and all the speakers that were there. And we went out to dinner. It was really nice. So when it does happen, it's not often, but when it does happen, it's absolutely amazing.
When we spoke last time, your sort of library tours and your treks up and down America were sort of in their infancy. You'd kind of really decided to push the envelope in regards to this, Mike, in regards to getting out there and doing these tours and doing these talks for people wherever they'd have you. And yet, as we say, here we are, spring 2026, and you're in Tennessee, you're in Jersey, you're down all the way down to the Carolinas. You're off to West Virginia. I mean, where aren't you going these days?
That's a great question. I'm going pretty much wherever I can is the answer. Really what it comes down to is I get like cabin fever really bad, and it is kicking in hardcore this year. So I'm like actively looking for more places to go. And I feel like if I sit at home, I'm not doing justice to what I do and, the boots on the ground field work approach that I have. So, and it's fun. Who wants to sit at home and not do anything, right? So you got to stay busy, stay active. It keeps you out of trouble, keeps me out of trouble. I know that. And some trouble. And, no, it's just about, spreading the word and having everybody try to join in on the adventure that can.
I've often wondered what it's like in winter for people of our hobbies, Mike, depending. Is it just a no-go in winter? Obviously, it's not just the elusive hominid. It's more about, health and safety going into these areas in summer. I would imagine can be dangerous. Never mind how bad things can get during the winter. So is it just you leave it alone, like you say, get a bit of cabin fever?
Yeah, I tend to hibernate in the wintertime. I don't like the cold. I used to live in Florida. I lived in Florida, which is, down south, and it's very nice and warm constantly. And I lived there for about 4 years, and I moved back up to New Jersey, and my blood had thinned, and it's not thin anymore, or it is thin. So it's not. I just get really cold really easily. I think I should take iron pills. I don't know. Probably should get a blood test or something. But so I don't like going out in the cold, and even kind of more so on that. It's animals usually aren't out as active as they are in the cold, so there's that. But you brought up the danger factor. I haven't seen ground in probably a month here, so it's been snow constantly. We're supposed to get an inch of ice or a half inch of ice tomorrow. So it's just not feasible going out and tracking through feet of snow looking for a cryptid that could easily, get out of that area in a heartbeat. Just as a side note, my grandmother has been stuck in the house for the past 2 months. She's 96 and she's wheelchair bound, so she can't get out of the house. And it's just because of the snow. It really affects everybody, and it's not. I don't recommend it for anybody.
I mean, I was going to say, even the hoaxers would be hard pressed to get out there to leave these footprints that we keep being told they're doing, Mike. Surely,
it seems like if you are like skiing, if you like skiing or tobogganing or anything like that, there's good. But I don't. So I shouldn't be living in a state where it snows 4 months out of the year. But my own doing.
Hey, we can't say anything. The weather over here never makes sense. We went 45 days where it rained every day.
I was going to say, it's a lot of rain, no?
Yes, and suddenly it's just decided to stop.
Oh.
Which is quite nice. And now it's going, the weather's getting stupidly warm, which is like, well, fine, okay. It's not bad. It might help dry everything out. Like I say, it's been crazy. I mean, with you, when you've been building your presence, your quality of presentation, when you look back at how you've grown over the last 4 years, Mike, both as a speaker, as someone who has, as we joke, you've got a tour date like a top tier rock band at the minute, the amount of gigs you're doing here, there and everywhere. Is it difficult, I suppose, to sort of keep it fresh and get your boots on the ground at the same time? Have you found the more you've done, the easier it is to find the balance between research and presentation?
That's a hard question to answer. I'm going to answer that in a way that I didn't expect to answer it when you were asking it, but I'm going to say like burnout is kind of a new thing that I've been experiencing. I used to be a firefighter and EMT for a long time, 12, 13 years back in my past life. And I experienced burnout there. So I know what it feels like. And I know that, like you said, I don't think there's a stand-up comedian maybe will do as many tour dates that I do. But rock bands don't tour. They don't go have as many gigs that I do throughout the year. So it's crazy to even think that. But with that comes a lot. You have to think. I think it was Jelly Roll. Just he was on tour and he just had this big thing where he announced that he was super depressed, and he, because of being on the road, it'll do that to you. But I'll answer that question other ways that I'm not going to get burnt out this year, and that's by not only doing these really awesome presentations. I'm offering a brand new program for New Jersey libraries this year called Whispers in the Pines, which is an immersive program where I go into legends and lores of every of New Jersey's 21 counties. And I think that'll change things up a little bit. And I think it's not just Bigfoot related, it's ghosts and paranormal and UFO stuff. So I think that'll be a good mix of things and kind of change it up a little bit. But I'm also going to, I've also opened it up this year to public expeditions where I bring people out with me into the field while I do go on tour and do these library presentations and film my show, Look for Bigfoot. So that way, I spent like 139 nights on the road last year. And I'm looking at my schedule now, and it's looking at about 150 for 2026. So doing that that's like more than 1/3 every of nights that I'm not home, which is crazy. And 90%, 95% of them are going to be camping. So it's a lot of work, but it's fun, and you got to keep it entertaining. And that's why I think in this new program and bringing some new people out, I'm going to start bringing, like after my programs, I'm going to people always ask me to go to dinner with them. I guess that's like a big thing after my programs. And I always say no, because I always want to get back to camp and film my show. And I have like a routine, but I think I'm going to start like going out with people after the programs and, just being more social if that's possible.
Well, I suppose when you're doing your talks and your presentations, as I've heard from many a great researcher, Mike, it's usually the best way to get first-hand accounts, because, as we were saying the first time you were here, you are very good in creating an atmosphere and an environment in your presentations that clearly shows to people this is a safe space to share these stories, that nothing's off the table. And whether it's when you're doing your filming, as I've said, or your other aspects of your work in regards to your love of this particular subject, you've always struck me as a very positive and embracing person. And I suppose, as you mentioned there about burnout, it's one of those things, I think, when we're doing things we really love, I think sometimes it's a bit surprising that we think, well, why do I feel drained and tired? Because I love this, and it's why I'm here, it's why I'm traveling, it's what I'm doing. But it does get to you. I can only imagine, Mike, like it's that you're almost half a year this year you're going to be spending away from home, near enough. You're not far off. And yes, it's all in pursuit of the great question of Bigfoot, but still, we all need to take a bit of a step back and keep it fresh for ourselves, as well as the people that will be coming with you both into the field and at your presentations.
Absolutely. I like to try to describe it as like a wave, and I don't know when the wave is going to stop, but it's still going, and I'm riding that thing like it's nothing else. And I'm going to go until I can't ride it anymore, or I fall off and crash and burn, and hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, no, I don't know. I'm going to, Bigfoot is an evergreen subject. It's really cool because unless Bigfoot is found or there's some major scientific discovery, Bigfoot's always going to be a topic of people to talk about. Like looking at and you can't say that about a lot of things, which is cool. And like current events, you can't say that, other events, historical events, but Bigfoot is different. I go back and I revamp all of my old YouTube shows from the past because there's no expiration date on Bigfoot, which is awesome. But yeah, it's just, it's more so just, you got to have this divide between being able to, I don't know, go out and ride the wave, and then you got to be safe about it too, because who knows, it could stop tomorrow and I could be without a job tomorrow, really. That's as with anybody, I suppose. Yeah.
I suppose, as you touched on there in regards to doing your public expeditions, as it were, Mike, are these your favourite sites? Are there places that you've visited and you've found activity, or you've come across a cluster of great witnesses or famous cases from the past? Because that's another good thing that you're you're renowned for, in my opinion, is you don't just focus on the here and now. You like to look back and see where these trends have been and what's been going on in these particular areas. And when I looked at your forthcoming expeditions that you've got planned in for this year, from sort of April until the end of October, near enough, when you finish off in West Virginia, I think. These are very varied places, very different terrains, but most of them have some very notable cases over the years, especially down in the Carolinas as well.
Definitely. I have two answers for that question. One, yes, I will absolutely. My expeditions are always planned around historical sightings, recent sightings, to put us in the best active area at the best times of the year for the longest amount of time we could possibly be there for. That would be a lie. I can't do that. With my tour schedule, the way I do it is I take a tour, say I'm going to be going to South Carolina, and I have 3 libraries or 4 library presentations or events in that area. What I'll do is I'll pick a centralized location, camp in that area. Just logistically, it's just more, it's feasible. It doesn't make sense to camp somewhere hours outside of where your presentations are going to be, even though that would make the most sense. But by doing this, I tend to camp at areas that have under-researched terrain, meaning not a lot of Bigfoot researchers go there, almost like a virgin Bigfoot territory. It hasn't been Bigfooted before. So with that being said, I have found locations that nobody has found before that have yielded some of the best results that I've ever had. So just because we're not in a hot spot of Bigfoot activity doesn't mean Bigfoot's not going to be there.
Well, I suppose as well, this is the thing that I find sometimes perplexing, because when you immerse yourself in this subject, there are certain states that it seems that people there seem very au fait with the hairy man, the tall man, the Grassman, the howler, wherever people have that, because this is the other wonderful thing. There's so many of these regionalized.
A lot of mans.
Yeah. There's a lot of big man things out there. But especially when the Carolinas is always one that I always find really surprising, because there are decades and decades worth of weird encounters from the old days where it was always these wild hairy men running across the States and Canada, to this particular location. But the Carolinas, I don't know, it only seems to be, for me anyway, Mike, looking from the outside, it's only like the last 5 or 10 years that anybody else outside of the Carolinas has thought, there's a lot going on here. Because I think sometimes the focus seems to skip the Carolinas because you've got the Skunk Ape in Florida. And so Carolinas and Georgia probably get a bad rap because they just happen to be above Florida, and everybody knows about the Skunk Ape more than their particular versions.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In the past, I'd say 5 years or so, more specifically in the Uari region of northern North Carolina, has been really hotbed of not only Bigfoot activity, but other paranormal stuff. UFO stuff has been happening there. The mans have been happening there. So that's one of the, and even so much so that they built a festival around Bigfoot. It's a Uari Bigfoot festival that last year brought in, I think it had to be close to 15 to 18,000 people. I emceed it last year. I'm going to be emceeing it again this year. It's in September. And we're hoping we changed the venue, so we're hoping to, like, I want to say double the attendance as last year. We can afford that, and we have the room for that now. So, but yeah, UREs is really, really great for Bigfoot activity. I can't wait to get back there. It's one of those areas where I've been to a lot of places now as I tour the country, and there are some places that really give you the creep out. The Pine Barrens in South Jersey, one of those areas, I get creeped out every time I go down there. The Land Between the Lakes in Kentucky and Tennessee, one of those other places. But definitely you got the Uari Mountains in North Carolina give you that same kind of vibe as like, oh man. And then you got in the western North Carolina, you have the Smoky Mountains, which is another, cryptid hotspot.
Have you found yourself developing an appreciation for other paranormal aspects, Mike? Because often I think people can go into the Fortean world or the world of the strange, and it's one thing that pulls them in, be it Bigfoot or UFOs or it's ghosts or Dogman or wherever. And often, I think certainly in the past, if you were a Bigfooter, that's all that mattered. If you were into ghosts, that's all that mattered. And if anything cross-pollinated or you had an experience that wasn't inside that wheelhouse, some of the old researchers just weren't interested in that. Have you had to fight against yourself, or did you have an interest in other things as well? It's just that Bigfoot's the top of the pile for you, and these have always been part of your interest, but it's only since you've been out in the field and going to these places that are sort of a sort of magnet for weirdness that we get, not just in the States. There's places in the UK, there's places in South America, Canada. There are these sort of locations where it seems that there's nothing off the table when it comes to strangeness.
Yeah, that brings up a couple very valid points. I got into this because of Bigfoot. I think it was Bigfoot that threw the rocks at me in Florida when I had my experience, and I've been really kind of dead set on Bigfoot ever since. I've camped again in these areas, these creep areas that people maybe or maybe not should be camping out in, and where historically there has been other sightings of other things, Dogman, Mothman, Jersey Devil, what have you. What I will say is we touched on it before. I spend a significant amount of time in the woods, more so than I think anybody that I know. I think I'm in the woods more than a lot of people. And I immerse myself into these situations, and I put myself in the middle of these scenarios that people probably shouldn't put themselves in to start with, trying to find anything unknown or unimaginable that could be something strange out there. And I have never come across anything that I cannot relate to Bigfoot, that's anything other than Bigfoot. So with that being said, I don't know if that doesn't mean that I don't think that there's other things out there. I think if people are seeing things, there has to be some truth to that. But I have never come across, in my personal experience, anything that I could relate to anything that's outside of Bigfoot. But that doesn't mean it wasn't there. I did one time do a ghost hunt, and it scared the bejesus out of me. I was not okay with it. Like, it was just like, I would rather track down an 8-foot tall bipedal hominid that could rip your head off rather than try to look for a ghost that you may or may not be able to see. I don't know. Just not my thing. Not my thing.
I think people would find that quite odd, Mike.
I'm a very odd person.
Well, yes. Well, and this is why we're having this
You're
conversation.
Like, oh, yes.
Because I'm odd as well. You all are welcome here. And but people would say, well, hang on a minute. He camps out in these really creepy areas with these terrifying stories in the middle of nowhere, and it's not even the cryptids you've got to watch out for. You've got pumas, you've got wolves, coyotes, wolverines, you've got bears, 3 different types. People would say, why would that not frighten you more than that? But I suppose it's about control, isn't it? And you've got things to deal with, real creatures. You've got an ability to deal with that. But I suppose if it's something ethereal, something, is it there, is it not there? How am I supposed to see it? Is it watching me now? It's the fear of the unknown, I suppose, that makes it harder to fight off, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know if it'd be fighting it off. It's just I'm much more comfortable in the woods, and like I don't even like scary movies. Like, I don't do horror movies. I don't not a fan of that kind of thing. So the fact that I do go look for Bigfoot is a little intriguing. But you mentioned like the bears and the wolves and the stuff like that we have out here, and people, you got to be so scared of all the bear. You're going to get attacked by a bear. And I used to be very scared of bears. There's actually a video on my YouTube channel of me getting sprayed with a can of bear mace accidentally. You could check that out. It's on the YouTube channel, but I don't carry bear mace anymore because of that. But the things that I am most concerned about in the woods, people. Obviously, I don't like people, especially if I'm in the middle of nowhere looking for Bigfoot. I shouldn't come across anybody else. Ticks. Had a tick on a very unfortunate location that one time, and I don't think ticks are cool because I got actually Rocky Mountain spotted fever from it. So that's not a good thing. I had like a 104-degree fever.
Oh.
And spiders. I don't like spiders just because they're yeah.
Yes. Well, you've certainly got a fair few of them that are venomous, and that's the thing with spiders. They're so tiny and yet so deadly.
Yeah, we actually came across. I was just got back from an expedition in Florida a couple of weeks ago, and we found my very first. I've never seen one in person, but a brown recluse spider on a tree. And we were actually just about to do a tree knock, and we saw these 8 eyes looking back at us, and we were like, "Oh no, that's a spider!" And then we looked at it and it said the pattern on the back, and we're like, "Oh, that's not a good spider."
I remember once many years ago seeing a documentary about a family somewhere in Tornado Alley somewhere. I can't remember which state it was. And they'd bought this wonderful old house for a dirt cheap price to do it up. And I think they'd been there a couple of weeks and they suddenly realised why the house was so cheap was it was absolutely stuffed to the rafters with brown recluses.
Oh, man.
And I thought they were kind of exaggerating how bad the problem was, Mike. But they had jars and jars and jars of dead ones. They were saying, "Oh yeah, you sit there," and they just drop out and sit. And they were just everywhere. And I was like, firstly, I'm not that bad of an arachnophobe. I mean, I don't mind them. I like to leave them in my house, but we're British and we don't have venomous spiders here. So, you might get a nasty nip off one, if at all, rarely, and occasional. Some people might have an allergic reaction because we've got a false widow spider, which is similar to a black widow, but not deadly. But we don't get them. And so I can't imagine, even as someone like me with a fairly low level of arachnophobia, how that would cope when I'm sat in a house full of venomous spiders just dropping out the ceiling.
Yeah, I would. There actually was somebody I just saw in the news this morning in our county that got arrested because he burned his house down because of the spider that he saw in the house. So that's that I'm not making that up. So arson, bad for you. Because that arachnophobia is a little through the roof, literally. Yes.
And the worst thing is, that's not the first time somebody's done that. And we both know it'll probably not be the last, Mike.
And we joke about it, but there's people that actually do it.
Yeah, well, it's good for them they don't live in Australia, because there'd be no houses left, I think. Out there. Goodness. One of the things I've really enjoyed since the last time we spoke that you do on your channel is your Bigfoot campfire stories.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
They're great, because I love proper interviews with people where they just tell you what happened. And I love this. I've always enjoyed that aspect of the whole mythos and experiencer sort of evidence, as it were. How do you find these people, Mike? Is it through people coming to your presentations and saying, I mean, I would imagine you get plenty of people there and it helps that you're in the locality. Or are they people that contact you through the channel, or are they people that have seen your shows, seen your some of the brilliant documentaries you do, as well as the Bigfoot campfire stories, and just said, I'd really like to share my story the next time you're near?
That's what it mostly is people that have experienced the show before and have seen, what I do, and especially the Bigfoot campfire stories, because I tried my hardest I ask even off camera, I say, okay, just explain to me what happened. And then I don't ask anything. And they could go for 20 seconds or they could go for 20 minutes. And I think that's the beauty of it is, you just to be able to see their raw emotion in the thing, in their interview. And, some of the comments I've read are very intriguing and upsetting, and rude, really. But, I guess that's just because it's the internet. But I really sitting down with these witnesses, it's I've interviewed hundreds of these witnesses now, and what sticks to me is that anybody could have a misidentification of a bear, or maybe a monkey or something, or a person, a hunter or anything. But it only takes one to not have a misidentification or to be telling the truth to make this whole thing absolutely legitimate. Just one, And I think I've interviewed more than one person that has seen these things for real. So that's people that come up, oh, I don't think Bigfoot's real. What makes you believe that Bigfoot's real? It's not the thousands of years of stories and folklore and legends of Native American tribes that we have. It's not the footprints. It's not the hair samples, if you want to count the hair samples that we may have had. It's these people that have actually saw something. And it's the Bigfoot campfire story is great, but that's only like 10%, I would say 10% of people let me film them. And it's only people that really want to share their story with somebody else, and have somebody else experience, or try to find somebody that has shared their experience, really, is why people come forward and share their sightings. But yeah, like I said, 1 in 10, maybe 10% of people will let me film them, if that. So think about that for a minute too. I have 50 Bigfoot campfire stories just as it is right now, as it sits, and that's not the ones I haven't edited yet. There's got to be something to it.
Oh, absolutely. I've often said they're usually the interviews that get you. You can tell by the way somebody's reacting, because it's hard. Yes, some people can give you crocodile tears and stuff, but when you see people who get who visibly shake, or you can see them beginning to sweat, or they dry up, they're having an emotional response to reliving what they're telling you about, even if it's something fairly innocuous, like strange noises, or
Right.
one of your recent ones, somebody was just having a walk and something just started lobbing rocks at them, as in a kind of like, I'm not going to do anything, but bugger off.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And I've always been struck. I remember seeing an interview, 20 odd years ago now, with a massive guy who must have been like 6'6", 6'7". He was a big unit. And he was telling this story, and then after about 2 minutes, he just started crying, and he could not stop crying. And he just said, I can't get my head around what I've seen. I know they're real, and I know that my life will never be the same, because either people are going to not believe me, they think I'm going mad, and I can't cope with the fact that I know that they're out there. And it was really powerful. It wasn't a very frightening experience for him, but it was very close. And he was under no illusions of what he'd seen and witnessed, Mike. And I suppose for you, one of the sort of untold aspects of this, like you were saying about people giving negative feedbacks and just being rude and treating these people with no respect, is, I suppose, for you and for some of them, it's a little bit like a counselling session, because they're finally able, as we said earlier, because of your approach, because of the way you make your interviewees feel comfortable in your sort of zone, as it were, Mike, that they're able to not put up these defences and try and hold things in. And it allows them, I suppose, to unbridle themselves as something they've probably held in for a year, 5 years, 10 years, even 20, 30 years, perhaps.
Quote, a weight has been lifted off my shoulders, end quote. I've heard that more than once. One of the most impactful interviews that I've I've ever done was I had met a witness, and we went back to a location that he had saw two Sasquatch, a mother and a juvenile Sasquatch, 30 years prior. And he was an avid hunter. He was in the woods every other day of his life, either hunting or gathering or doing whatever you have be. And he was when he saw these Sasquatches, he stopped hunting for 30 years, and he didn't go in the woods for 30 years after this sighting. And I was the person that brought him back to the exact location where he saw that. And to tell you the emotion that was rolling through that interview, you interview people for a living, you understand how it is, but for people that don't, just the emotion, the raw emotion that was rolling through that, you could tell that whatever that changed that person's life, no question about it.
For me, that's always been the hardest thing to dismiss, I think, is the people's reaction. Because I suppose, Mike, for them, everything, their life is never the same again, regardless. Whether they've got a group of friends and family who believe them or may have had experiences themselves, or for them, it's just second nature. They just, they're over there. Don't bother them. They don't bother us. Everything's great. And obviously, if you say that to certain people, they go, oh, well, I'm going to have a look. And then they get frightened, and then they don't want to do that ever again. But I suppose, for me, this is what's so great about it, is that there's such a variety as well of these experiences, and people get sort of excited and stuff. I know I'm trying to think of the one it was that you had a few months ago, I think somewhere down in Georgia. And you were speaking with a lady who said, well, I know what it was because we made eye contact. It looked at me. I looked at it. We both saw each other. Well, what can that be? What can that be? It can't be a bear. the way she described it and what happened. I mean, this is the other thing as well, is often people will see something, and it's only when it starts not acting like a bear that they think, what the hell is that? Because they just see a big brown thing and then, I don't know, starts eating an apple, or it starts breaking a thing, or starts throwing something, which we know bears can't do. Yeah, they can flap things about, but they can't pick up and physically throw something at you.
It's crazy. I've interviewed a handful of hunters that have had Bigfoot in their crosshairs. And I ask them the question, because you got to ask, why didn't you shoot it? You know, it's just, you got to ask them. And every one of them has came back and said to me, it looked way too human-like. I would have got charged with a crime if I shot this thing, because this was more human than animal. And that's powerful, you know, to have somebody, hunters, generally speaking, will come up to me and say, if I were to shoot, or if I were to see a Bigfoot, I'd put a cap in it. You know, I've heard that so many times. And I ask them, well, you know, have you ever, what if it's too human-like? And they don't, you know, they can't comprehend that because they never experienced that. But the people that have, it changes their whole perspective on life and on hunting in general. So, I don't know. Like I said, this Bigfoot thing it's powerful.
I mean, this is the other aspect of it as well, Mike, is that the passion, the thirst for Bigfoot seems to be unquenchable. If anything, as cynical people would say, well, we've had Finding Bigfoot, we've had Expedition Bigfoot, nobody's found it properly yet. Why is this still so popular? And yet, I think it's because of people like yourself and other researchers like Lyle Blackburn, Ken Gerhardt, who go to the source of the stories. They don't just, you know, find stuff online and type it up and things, you're there, you're front and centre, you're going wherever. Lyle especially has written some incredible bodies of work, but his great strength is he puts himself in there. He makes everybody trust him, especially when it comes to a case, say, Boggy Creek, for example, where even the law enforcement knew he was the right kind of guy. He was the guy that wanted to just tell the story. He didn't want to be the story. They're the story. He just wanted to collect it. And so I suppose when you've got this kind of attitude about, well, where's the real evidence, regardless of filming and footprint casts and tracks and whatever, people don't care. There are so many people, whether they've had an experience or not, who are all in on this, and it doesn't seem to be diminishing, Mike. Have you noticed this? Because you've kind of, the reason you set yourself up doing what you do was your frustration in the way things were being done on television. We were getting the TV version of cryptozoology rather than what the real researchers in the field, such as yourself and others, notable groups, do. And it's more than just running around the woods shouting at everything.
That's fun too.
Yes.
Bigfoot, I was at an event a couple weeks. Also, shout out to Ken. That's the person I had dinner with the other day. We had an event together. Ken and Ann are awesome. Yes. And Lyle's very awesome too. He's a good friend of mine as well. But Bigfoot's big. I was at another event, a vending event. It was an outdoor show, had nothing to do with Bigfoot. But I have a 10x10 canopy tent, and it says Bigfoot Research, real big on it. And we set that sucker up, and I'll tell you, we were the most popular booth in the whole expo. The people next to us, they were a fishing charter who, you'd think that's a pretty good product placement, if you will, at an outdoor show. They didn't have anybody. And they, we had a line wrapped around the thing, and it's everybody loves a mystery. That's human nature. Look at all the true crime podcasts and the true crimes. Everybody loves a good mystery. Whether the UFOs or ghosts or anything, it's just as a nature, as humans love to just to think. So I think that's big. That's a big part of it. Another big part of it too, I think, for people that are really more on a researcher level or have a more in-depth thinking of the Sasquatch subject, are, listen, the technology. What's going on here? For me personally, with the technology that we have coming out that's readily available to researchers, not myself, because fun fact, I don't make a lot of money. I'm talking like thermal drones and stuff like that. Like, I would love to get a thermal drone. I think if Bigfoot's going to be found, that's going to be a nice stepping stone to try to find out where Bigfoot's going to be living, as a thermal drone. I give it like 3 to 5 years. If something physical, Bigfoot, like a physical being, isn't found within 3 to 5 years, either there's not going to be a Bigfoot mystery. I'm going to probably hang up the towel and say, well, with everybody, there's got to be something. Or then we're going to go and shift into hate to even bring up the woo word, but what's going on here? Because if it is something, if people are seeing something, and I've interviewed these people that I think are credible, and like I said, it only takes one, and there's no physical evidence of Bigfoot, then something else is going on. And I'm not to that point yet. I'm biological. I think Bigfoot's a biological on this earth like we are. Some of my best friends are researchers that are into intradimensional Bigfoot, and they've had their experiences, and they've seen things with their own their own eyes, and I trust them just like I trust family. I have no reason not to. So are they lying? Are they making something up? Absolutely not. I don't think so. So they got to be seeing something. And I know, like, I was just talking to somebody the other day. He was so biological based, and then he saw Bigfoot literally in front of him. The first time he's ever saw a Bigfoot. He's been waiting his whole life to see him, just like me, right? And then Bigfoot disappeared in front of him. changed his whole philosophy. Imagine that. What if that happened? That's crazy to think about.
That would just blow your mind.
Yeah. It would take everything that you knew about the Earth and the planet and science and everything and just turn it upside down.
I mean, it is. I'm not closed off to those kinds of things. I think there's certainly a body of evidence that suggests that there's certainly a number of encounters that are beyond the realms of comprehension, such as that one. I was speaking to somebody fairly recently, and one of the things that they mentioned was an experience that someone had said they saw a Bigfoot, clear as day, in a forest. And as they approached it, it just walked behind this tree, and then it didn't come out the other side.
Vanished, yep.
But this tree was like 6 inches in diameter. It wasn't a big tree. It wasn't like behind a redwood or something, Mike. It was like a sapling. And it even if it was doing like, occasionally we'll see photos of elephants hiding behind trees like that, and you're like, this is crap. But, we can all see you. He just said it just walked behind it and nothing came out the other side. So it was like going into an elevator. It just disappeared. And he said, and he was exactly the same opinion that you've just said there. I'm all physical, but when somebody I really respect tells me what they've seen and what happens, I have to think, well, what's going on there then? Because that makes no sense at all.
You just, as a researcher, I think the worst thing you could do as a researcher is close your mind off to the possibility that something is possible. That's not what research is all about. That's not what true research is. So for somebody to close their mind off that Bigfoot has to be biological and there's nothing else to it, and there's that would mean that there's nothing like a ghost or anything. There's no paranormal stuff. There's no whatever. To have that mindset, you have to be. I think you have to be so closed off and so I don't know. I don't. There's just I don't know. I just can't. I can't fathom people that aren't open to the possibility that something else is out there. That there's more to this world than we know. True.
Well, I think the thing is, too often, Mike, people say, well, it has to be one thing or the other and not both. And I think, why? Why does it have to be one thing or the other? Why can't 2 things be happening at the same time? 3 things even. There could be different things happening in different locations. It doesn't necessarily... One thing happening does not mean the other thing isn't happening. And that's the other thing I find quite surprising is that, and as with anything, I think people are very tribal when it comes to most things in life, whether you're biological or you're space dimensions and quantum entanglement and all that and the paranormal or whatever, or even aliens. It's not the first time somebody's mentioned that aspect to it.
Sure.
They can all be happening at the same time and be similar, but not the same thing. And I don't understand why they all think that it's like, this is my club and they can't go in. And we've all seen amazing, well, I say amazing, very passionate discussions over the years between biological and the ethereal, and never the twain should meet. But, as you say there, Mike, I think more recent researchers across the field are more open-minded, and for them, it's not the be-all and end-all of it. It's their thing. And if, like you say, if you've got people you trust, you respect, and they tell you something that confounds our belief, then we're not going to dismiss that because we know who they are. We know the currency of their trust.
No, absolutely. One of my good friends, Ronnie LeBlanc, he's very into the interdimensional UFO. He's very into interdimensional Bigfoot and UFOs and sky watching and all that stuff. And I think it's absolutely phenomenal. I think it's really cool that he does it. But it's cool because him and I are friends, where we chat with each other, and even though he may, and this just uses Ronnie as an example, it could be anybody. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter in the Bigfoot community what you believe in. It should matter that researchers should be trying to work together, regardless of biological, not biological, doesn't matter. We're all in this for a similar, maybe not the same, but a similar reason to try to further the knowledge base of whatever this thing that is what people are seeing is. So when you say there's two camps, there definitely are. But I have noticed over the past years, maybe 2-3 years, that it is starting to come together as more of one kind of, let's just try to explain what this is. Let's figure it out.
Yes, it's good to see. I have to say,
it's refreshing.
I didn't think it had happened, but it's happening. It's happening, Mike. I don't know what's going on, but it's happening, and we should just let them get on with it, I think.
Yeah. It would be, when I first got into this, if you were into the biological and I was not, we would not be friends. I mean, there would not be it'd be like, okay, talk to you later. You do your thing, I'll do mine. Nice to know you. But now, look, we're all going out to dinner.
I think a lot of us have gone through a bit of that change. Even I'm less dismissive of that particular tranche of it, but then I like to throw ghosts into the mix, and then both sides hate me.
I will say, like, one of the coolest experiences I've had, and we were doing our thing, looking for Bigfoot in High Point State Park in New Jersey, and I did a barred owl call, and whoa, 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 and about 2 seconds later, we got back the best vocalization that my team has ever recorded before. It's on my YouTube channel. You can check it out, and we heard that. We filmed it, and then about 15 minutes later, before we heard this vocalization, we saw a zigzagging, doing like an M or a W across the sky. It was just one red light, not flashing, UFO, unidentified object, hovering in the sky, going left to right across this power line cut. Then 15 minutes later, we get back this best Bigfoot vocalization that we've ever had before. Some people have come up to me after my programs and say, Mike, how can you not relate the two? Like, Bigfoot, you saw a UFO, it zapped down a Bigfoot, and you got a Bigfoot call. I mean, duh, come on. Personally, and that's cool. I think that's cool. I think that's awesome. If that's possible, that's really cool. Me personally, I think they're not related. I think we saw a UFO, we saw something unidentified, and we did have a Bigfoot in the same night at almost the same time. But I don't think that was close enough for me to relate the two. I wish it would be. That would change my whole philosophy of Bigfoot.
Yeah, I think the thing is, there's a couple of very notable cases where you've got that kind of thing going on. Chestnut Ridge in Pennsylvania is probably the best example of it. And I know the marvellous Zelia Edgar uncovers some very odd cases through the annals of the world of Forteanism. And you have these people that even have sightings of Bigfoot, and then they seem to get a haunting in their house, which seems to be unconnected to anything. But I think sometimes people look at a very select sample when it comes to the UFO Bigfoot thing. And I've always said, as with anything, I'm not going to rule it out, but I don't think that is the same thing as this. They might be the same, but they could both be going on at the same time. But when you look at the body of evidence for, like I say, Chestnut Ridge and the work Stan Gordon's done over the years, you start thinking, well, I can't, unless everybody involved in this is just lying through their back teeth.
Yeah.
And creating sort of damaged property and ripped up fields and weird things for no reason at all, because it's the early 70s, Mike. Why on earth was this all going on? That you think that, well, what the hell is going on Chestnut Ridge? Because if you've got somebody who claims to have been like 6 foot away and shot one straight in the face with a shotgun and nothing happened, then you're like, okay, but they're not on their own. So first, straight away, well, it's not just one guy's story now. Now there's two people, and now somebody else heard him shoot it. And you're like, oh, right. That, you just kind of think, well, what's going on? And I think because that case is so weird in general, that I think it's one of those that it leaks into other things. And like you say, you seeing a strange light in the sky and then having a vocalization may be two completely separate things. However, some people go, oh, dummy, like you say, it's obviously dropped him off. This brought him home.
Yeah. But like I said, you just can't dismiss the fact that they could be related. And, I almost did a disservice in my earlier years of Bigfoot research where I was like, no, it can't be related. I mean, I tell everybody at my programs, yes, I'm a biological person, but as long as you have an opinion of what you think Bigfoot is, you are ahead of the game. Whether you think it's biological or not, as long as you think something about Bigfoot, you're already ahead of a lot of people.
It seems to be one of those strange rules, I think, that it's kind of unwritten that you don't mention UFOs when it comes to the world of Bigfoot. All this quantum theory stuff used to be the same, the woo. But you also have height that seems to be, people will say, oh, no, that can't be true. They're never over 9 foot tall. And you think, hang on, how do you know they're never over 9 foot? You've not been everywhere, you've not met them all.
Yeah.
I wish some of us had. By goodness. Well, be careful what you wish for, I think. But you see some reports, like the famous dam one in Canada, where people have disregarded it on two parts. Firstly, First Nations witnesses. And secondly, they claimed that these creatures must have been 12 foot tall. And people have gone, can't be that tall. And you're like, well, we get giganticism in every species on the planet. From amoebas to elephants, there will always be one that's bigger, the biggest. We see it in humans and not very often. I think sometimes we forget how rare people being over 8 foot tall is because we're so used to seeing large athletes in a variety of sports. But once you get over 8 foot, that's different gravy, I think. And you look at the people and the problems they have with their body just can't deal with it. But then you look at animals and it seems to be one of those things that giganticism doesn't seem to affect them as negatively as it does with people.
Well, what's the cutoff line? What would be a good number for you personally?
I mean, because there are not that many cases of things being reported over 10 foot tall, I wouldn't dismiss them because I think, well, if people were saying everything had suddenly become 12 foot tall, I'd be like, hang on a minute, I'm not really sure with this. But if they can be seen at 4 feet or whatever, and some people claim, well, they're juveniles, and once again, I think, are you sure? How do you know? Then if we've got small ones, why can't we have taller ones? So, when you're talking 15, 20 foot, I'm saying no. I'm not having that.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask, because I interviewed a witness in Maine, and he observed over probably a 10-minute period of time, which is insanely long for a Bigfoot sighting. That's the average Bigfoot sighting lasts 5 seconds. So to have a minute plus sighting, to have a 10-minute long sighting is almost unheard of. But he also witnessed a 20-foot tall Sasquatch in the backwoods of Maine's western mountains. I interviewed this guy for probably 2 hours, and while I don't know if I believe him or not, that doesn't really matter, does it? Because he believes it, and the people that are with believes him. And if that creature is out there, then chances are somebody else may have seen that and probably want some validation of it. So people say, why did you put that on your YouTube channel if you don't think it's legitimate? First of all, I don't know if it's legitimate or not. But second of all, what if it is? What if it is? And there is something like that. The giganticism Bigfoot, the one that shouldn't happen. Because like you said, we have them. What if you saw that guy? Or that girl, or whatever it is, and it is in Maine somewhere. That deserves to be told. That story deserves to be heard somewhere.
I think the only place I can think of something similar to that is I remember hearing somebody who reported something similar in the Bennington Triangle. And it was, I think at the time, it was probably the largest one anybody had said. And I think that was about 15, 16 foot. And they said they knew how tall it was because it walked past. Its head was level with the roof, and so they knew how tall it was. They could use it as a measurement. And I just thought, but other than that, I mean, like I say, they're very minimal reports that are over 10 foot in general. And height is is a very sort of subjective thing sometimes if you're not close enough. But often these people will use the area around them. There'll be a specific tree, or they'll be able to sort of say, oh, well, it was level with a certain branch, Mike. And therefore, you can utilize it. And if anybody's going to be good at gauging distance and height, hunters are usually the best people. They'll know how big something, they'll tell you how much something weighs often just by looking at it, because they're so used to whatever their particular choice of kill is, that they'll be able to tell you, they can tell you how big that boar is, how big that bear is, just by looking at it. Whereas the average person will go, I don't know. It's like one of those jars on a sweet shop counter where they say, how many lollies are in here? Win a $5. You know what I mean? It's one of them. And you're always surprised because it's always less than you think it is.
Yeah. Well, I think kind of going back like to what we were just talking about is seeing these larger or smaller Bigfoot, everything kind of lies on a bell curve, you know, and you're going to have your outliers and stuff like that. But if you have too far one way, it doesn't make sense, you know, and that's where you get your misidentifications. That's why, you know, when you interview witnesses, you want to ask these very, very specific questions. How much do you think it weighed? Especially hunters, like you said, is perfect to ask that question to. How tall was it? What terrain was the Bigfoot elevated, or did the ground lower? All, you know, questions that you pick up over time. But we try to, you know, mentally we put these on the bell curve and be like, okay, well, if it walks like it does, I love Judge Judy because she's one of my favorite people in the whole world. And she has a thing, says, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's probably a duck. So that's Bigfoot witness interviews at its easiest, at its most basic, is if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
When you're planning your expeditions, as we touched on earlier, has it become a particular hotspot that you've felt the best in, Mike, over the years, where you've got a lot of interactions? Because as we've said, one of your great strengths is you're not one of those people who say, oh yeah, well, I've seen it 17 times and it's called Brian and it lives, you know, wherever your special spot is, because there are people out there who have these alleged relationships.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And that's not the strangest thing I've ever heard people claim to have been told. Has your favourite location changed in 10 years? Have you thought, oh, this is the place to be, and it's been overhyped, or there's too many people going there, or if anything, there's not much happening at all, and you've suddenly, as you were saying, a lot of the areas that you're doing your public expeditions in this year are off the beaten track. They're not the normal locations that people would go.
I've been very blessed to be and experience and travel to a lot of different places while I do this. All up and down Maine to Florida to Michigan to Indiana. I mean, in Louisiana, you name it. I've East Coast. I've been there, and I'm very, very thankful every day that I get to do this. But you have to define favorite location, because there's a couple different definitions of favorite. There's Bigfoot activity favorite. If that's the case, I would go to Whitehall, New York, hands down. Every time I go up there, I seem to get Bigfoot activity. It's very cool. If I wanted to go where I think Bigfoot lived, it would be the Adirondacks up in New York. 1.1 million, or I think it's 2.2 million acres of absolutely nothing. If there was a habitat for Bigfoot, it would be up in the Adirondacks. If you want to go for sheer beauty, I personally love the Smoky Mountains in Georgia, or I'm sorry, in North Carolina and Tennessee. Just absolutely gorgeous. It's some of the most beautiful scenery that you're ever going to see. But I think, to answer your question, in a place that has everything combined into one, by doing these tours, I'm also looking for a place where I can settle down and live long term, because I don't think I'm going to stay in New Jersey for the rest of my life. It's just way too expensive. So by doing these, I'm also low key looking for a place that I'm going to settle down and stay, for Bigfoot activity, for cost of living, for just niceness of the area. And for me, one of the nicest places I've found is northwestern South Carolina. You have the lower Blue Ridge Mountains, you got Georgia, South Carolina area, and it's just gorgeous down there. It's just one of my favorite places. So I think I'm going to be heading down there in a couple weeks actually to check it out a little bit more.
Well, I don't blame you. I mean, it is one of those things. One of the unexpected benefits of being into cryptids, especially in America, is getting to see all these incredible places. Because some of them, my jaw just hits the desk when I look at some of the incredibles. And I've said this many times. I never understood why Montana was called the Big Skyscape. I know why now. It's just I can just watch YouTube videos of people driving through Montana, and I just think, oh my God, what's going on here? But you see, all the Carolinas and places, there's some incredible vistas. And like you say, if nothing else, going out there is keeping you healthy, and you're taking in some of nature's most breathtaking sights. And if you get a bit of activity on top of it, then that's a bonus. But I suppose, Mike, you've come to appreciate the fact that you like being outside. The cryptid stuff's a bonus, really. You're getting to see some of the most beautiful places in the States that even most Americans don't get to see.
You hit the nail on the head. That's exactly perfect how you said that. And it's the reason why I have my YouTube show, and the reason why I go around full time looking for Bigfoot and doing these presentations is not because I want to find Bigfoot. Granted, it'd be cool, right? It'd be pretty dang cool.
Yes.
But my mission statement of my show and my journey is to get friends and families off the couch and into nature. And if I could do that for one family this year, then my mission is complete. And whether it be Bigfoot or not, I challenge anybody, go take that waterfall hike that you've been putting off taking for the past couple years. The hike that you've not been meaning to do because you've been too busy, that one. Just go and see some. Don't sit on the couch every day. That's why winter for me is inherently very difficult, because I am sitting on the couch every day and it just bothers me. But yeah, I think that's if I could get my message to anybody about being outside. It doesn't have to be in a Bigfoot either. It could be like I could like rub two sticks together and make a fire sometimes now. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, I never thought I'd be able to do that. I like fishing. Like, I thought that was the most boring thing in the world before I got into Bigfoot research. Now I actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
Photography is really cool. I mean, just anything outside is just better than being inside. So that's my takeaway from my presentations, and really my mission statement of why I do what I do.
I suppose one of the other aspects of this is, I suppose on occasion, Mike, you'll just stumble across the strangest things in the middle of nowhere. Maybe it could be an abandoned farm or a car or a truck. What's the strangest thing you've stumbled across? Because occasionally you'll see people find things that look like they've been left there 100 years, 150 years, and nature has reclaimed it. Yeah.
One of the coolest things, and again, I don't know how into this cryptid I am. However, I was. It was cool that I was able to go to Point Pleasant, West Virginia, with the Mothman, and I went out to, and I forget what they call the wildlife management area, but I went to where the Mothman is supposedly said to have lived, in these old TNT bunkers from like from the war. I don't know what war it was, World War II or something like that, and it was really cool to be able to. I found them, and they're so overgrown, and the grass is on top. It's so cool how nature, like you said, has reclaimed them. that was a cool thing. The weirdest thing I've ever come across, and this is unsettling, is I was driving a base camp in middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania one time. I was about 25 yards from our camp. Middle of the road was a naked, bloody Barbie doll. Talk about nope. Did not camp there that night. We were just not never found out what happened. Left the thing because we're not touching that. And yeah, to this day, have no idea what that was about, but we weren't sticking around to figure it out.
Yeah, and that'd make me turn the other way and say, no, not today, thank you.
Yeah, we'll figure this out a different day. We'll come back with a slight out.
And there's more of us.
Yeah.
Keep the doors locked as well, everybody. I suppose, do you still get as excited hitting a new location, Mike?
Yeah.
I would imagine you do, because it's like, whoa, the possibilities are endless, aren't they?
There's nothing more exciting. It's like Christmas morning is when I get to base camp and I step out of my car and I'm like, okay, where am I going to put my tent? And I put the firewood next to the fire and I start getting my tent set up. And that's just like Christmas morning. I'm so happy. And then it's just because I know I've been doing this for so long. I have everything. I don't want to say I have everything down to a science, but I got a routine, and I can get base camp set up in 45 minutes, like everything good to go, fire going and everything. So it's not a hassle to me anymore. That's why I think I enjoy it more. I've gotten my tools and my equipment that I bring, specified. I don't bring anything that I don't need. And this all comes with time and experience, obviously. But I remember, in my first I would be so nervous getting to these base camps. Am I forgetting something? Am I going to break something? Is the air mattress going to have a hole in it? That kind of thing. But now, so it's gotten to the point where I'm so confident that it's just wonderful. Everything is wonderful.
Well, as with anything, the more you do it, the easier it gets. And like you say, I think that's a big challenge for people camping. It's the rigmarole of putting the tent up, trying to start the fire.
Another thing that is something I've gotten a lot more comfortable with, and people, especially if you're first into Bigfoot research, is you might get scared. It's not, Bigfoot research isn't like the most calming activity in the world. I mean, you're walking through the woods at dark at night, and even if Bigfoot's out there, inherently there's a lot of dangers of that. You have the other animals, you could trip and fall and break an ankle. There's just so many different things that can happen at night when walking through the woods. Then you add Bigfoot to it. I used to get very scared of everything. Every little twig that moved, I would jump at, and now I don't do that, and it is because of the experience and how often I've been out there, obviously. But that's something that I do like to share it with people, especially, like I said, new people getting into Bigfoot field research, is that it's okay to be nervous and scared the first couple times you go out. It is not. It's a common feeling, but it does get better.
Is there anything, as you say there, in regards to how long you've been doing it now, and you can probably put a tent up blindfolded these days, Mike, I would imagine.
Unfortunately.
In regards to your field research, the way you conduct your expeditions, are they radically different from when you first started? I mean, obviously you got to get your head around what you're doing and things, but I often am surprised by certain people who will do something for so long, maybe use trail cams or wood knocks or whatever, and after they get little or no sort of responses, they tend to drop that away rather than thinking, why aren't we trying everything? Because as with anything, everybody's different. We all respond to different stimuli, and we know animals respond to different stimuli. So, for example, I don't know, wood knocks in Tennessee may not work, but in Jersey, you're guaranteed some hollering. Whereas Other places, it's gifting, it's leaving out food, certain different things. So for you, do you try to not say, I'm never doing that again? You just have different parts of your toolkit in different circumstances now?
Two-part answer to that. One, I am in this, the reason I got into this is to have a good time. I don't not have good times with things I do. I think that's ridiculous if you're not having a good time with life. So all my expeditions from day one to day whatever we're at now have been the fun aspect of it. It's not a series. I've been with researchers. My first expedition, I was with a researcher that, no lights, no talking, run through the woods, and let's try to find Bigfoot. And for me, I didn't enjoy that. So why would I do that? You know what I mean? Like, granted, the best way to look for Bigfoot and to get evidence of Bigfoot is to go sit in the middle of a field with a chair, with no electronic equipment whatsoever, and listen for Bigfoot. Don't do any howls, don't do anything. That's the best way you're going to get evidence of Bigfoot. However, I've found that that makes a very poor YouTube show. The ratings on that episode were very low. So that's, no, but that's you got to have fun doing it.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned about trail cameras, which is cool. I used to be a huge fan of trail cameras. I still am. But I've realized that I have come to the conclusion that I believe Bigfoot can see the IR that trail camera, the infrared light that these trail cameras emit. I truly believe this. And I think that instead of not using trail cameras anymore, well, let's still use them, but let's use them to our advantage. Let's think of a way we can use these trail cameras to our advantage, right? Because we still want to get cool shots of all these animals and whatever, deer and raccoons and squirrels, whatever have you. So instead of setting them up in strategic places where animals are going to funnel into, what we do is we place them around our trail or around our base camp and aim them outwards. Except leave one little 45-degree hole where Bigfoot has to come in. If they're interested and want to check us out, they're going to come in and just make a funnel point for Bigfoot. If Bigfoot can see the IR, make Bigfoot go where the IR isn't. That's when you're going to have your thermal imaging camera right sitting at that entry point, and that's when you're going to get evidence of Bigfoot. I think. That's a good technique anyway. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of stuff, but it's a good way of doing it if you're at base camp for a couple of days.
Well, I think as well, when we're talking about wild animals, we have to understand their senses are far more enhanced than ours are. And I've heard the argument in regards to trail cams, not only in vision, but in their hearing ability. You could even suggest maybe they can smell something. Who knows? Sure. Because bears, from what I gather, have been recorded to be able to smell food from 15 to 20 miles away, which is remarkable. But I think people forget that bears' sense of smell, I think, something like 7 times better than a bloodhound. It's 1,000, 2,000 times better than a human's. And you can only imagine that if we are talking about some kind of hairy hominid that is the king of the forest, really, their senses are going to be extremely heightened. So do you take precautions in regards to scent and things, Mike? Do you try and gauge yourself for the wind as well? Because it's these, I suppose these are surveillance techniques more than anything as well, aren't they?
Yeah. Here's my thing is, just like I said before, like the gentleman, the researcher that ran through the woods with no lights on, you're not going to sneak up on a Bigfoot. You could take all the precautions that you want to try to prevent or to try to, cause you to sneak up on a Bigfoot. But the thing is their senses are that heightened. And just like with any other animal in your backyard, I'm looking at a herd of deer that come down every morning. My mother feeds them. You can almost hand feed them. But if I were to get too close to them, they're running away. You know what I mean? Bigfoot's going to do the same thing. Bigfoot will know if Bigfoot is in the area that you're in, that you're researching, they're going to know as soon as you get out of the car because they're going to hear your car door slam. So, and they're going to either A, get out of the area and be like, ooh, there's people here. I'm going to skedaddle and let's not interact with them today, which I think happens 99% of the time. Or you're going to have the Bigfoot that are inquisitive and be like, oh, what are these people doing out here, especially if it's at night and if they're doing weird things with their voices and kind of, trying to imitate what we do. That's interesting. Let's go check them out and see what they're doing out in our backyard. Yeah, I mean, if people were inquisitive, we would probably, when there's a car accident, what's all the rubbernecking, right?
Yeah.
Like to see things. So I think Bigfoot are inquisitive creatures, and that's one of the ways that it's going to be their downfall, that they get kind of acknowledged by us, is that they are inquisitive, and that's what draws them into us.
It does surprise me sometimes, I think, that people just forget how heightened animals are, Mike.
Yeah.
Like you say, and they go in there making a right racket, and you just think there's nothing going to be here. Not even the squirrels have buggered off. You've been that noisy.
I'll tell you, my first Bigfoot, well, my second encounter, we were in Florida, and I was so new to the thing. I was just doing what I saw him do on TV, and that's just Bigfoot calls every 2 seconds. So I was doing the way I describe it is that any idiot within a 2-mile radius would know that there's this group of people walking around the woods, right? There's there's no hiding that fact. And any animal would have got out of the area, right? If you think about it, any intelligent animal would have been like, oh, I am not dealing with this tonight. Let me get out of the area. But that's the night we saw 2 pairs of eyes shine. One red color, one was reflective red, and one was reflective blue, aqua blue. So, and I think that was 2 Sasquatch. After all the investigation and research and whatever we did into that night, I think it was 2 Sasquatch that we saw that evening. So that just would lead me to believe that they probably are inquisitive creatures. So by doing these vocalizations, it's not going to scare them off. It may just draw them in a little bit.
Well, as with anything, everybody's slightly different, and you'll always get the ones that are more interested, who want to have a nosy and check out what's happening.
Sure.
Or they may even be the designated scouters. We don't know. They could be. Humans used to do that kind of thing. You'd send your fastest runners, your strongest warriors out to go spy on things. Why wouldn't you do that with those weird, hairless, noisy things that are living in that kind of weird triangle?
Yeah. No, that's absolutely correct, for sure.
Well, before I let you leave, Mike, you've got a packed, as we said, schedule coming up. You've got talks, you're on the presentation circuit, you're on the conference circuit, up and down, and as you said, you treated to a dinner with a couple of friends of mine, Ken and Anne, who have both been on this show several times, and I know very well and have a lot of time for them. They're actually coming over here, traipsing around Scotland in the summer.
Yeah, I saw that. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah, so hopefully I'm going to be able to swing up there, because it's not too far to get to if we can be bothered. And I'm allowed over the border because I like Scotland. So I just can't get my head around it sometimes when I look at your itinerary, because as I say, Mike, whilst you've not been on here for a while, I follow your work, subscribe to your YouTube channel, I always follow your Insta, and love your Bigfoot campfire stuff. So I'm always keeping up to date with what you got going on. And then I look at where you are and what you're doing, and I think, well, yeah, it's no wonder we were talking about burnout earlier, my friend.
It's like I mentioned, it's a packed schedule, but it is really what I do. I mentioned I was a firefighter and EMT, and I loved doing that. I love helping people. It's my passion. It's my energy. It's one of the reasons why I get up in the morning. However, that's a past life. That. Whatever.
Yeah.
So that's not in the cards to do again. Then I went to putting stickers on the side of police cars and fire trucks, and I think that was really cool. It was not as fulfilling as being an EMT, but it was fun because I get to play with the lights and the sirens all day, every day. But something about what I do right now is what I know that I was designed to do.
Yeah.
There's I don't think I'm a good public speaker. I don't think I have a good YouTube show. I'm very humble when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't even try to push my show to to people that much, because I don't think it's that good. But other people do, and that's why I keep doing it. And I think that's important, not only just with Bigfoot research, but anything in general. If you are passionate about the subject, whether you're good at it or not really doesn't matter. As long as you like to do it, just keep doing it. I was told a saying a long time ago, make it till you break it type of thing. And I'm just trying it. You know what I mean? I don't know what I'm doing. Well, and the cool thing is, like, I like to joke with people, because there's not many people that do what I do. Going to a library, it's cool because I don't have a dress code. Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
I could show up I'm a Bigfoot researcher. I could show up wearing whatever I wanted to, and people would be like, oh, yeah, it's about right. That's part of the reason why I love what I do too.
Yeah. You don't prescribe to the unofficial uniform of Bigfooting.
I'll tell you what I do in every presentation. I get fancied up, and I wear a nice button shirt and a polo shirt and some slacks and stuff, because I think that's important. Is because you want to if you're a public speaker and you do what I do and you're a producer, you have to you represent yourself in a positive, definitely professional way, especially if you're into Bigfoot research, because some people think that's kind of weird to start with.
Yes. Well, exactly. And if you turn up smartly dressed, you've already disarmed them straight away. They're like, hang on.
Right, exactly. They're like, oh, crap.
He doesn't smell of the woods. What's wrong?
Well, when I'm on tour, I do smell of campfire. It's a thing. Yeah.
There are worse things, Mike. You could have the
That's
aroma.
true. That's true.
So what's next? What's going on this year then, my friend?
Oh, man.
What isn't?
Yeah. Well, I got my handy dandy schedule. I got a couple things coming up. The big ones to hit on. Let's see. Oh, I don't even know. Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival in the Smoky Mountains. We were talking about that. Yeah. That's a good one. That's going to be a huge one. That's in May of this year. Then the Red River Gorge Bigfoot Festival, also the end of May in Red River Gorge, Kentucky. Charlie Raymond is putting that on, and he that one was awesome last year. I'm so excited to go back to it. Then we got the Forest County Bigfoot Festival in Marionville, Pennsylvania in June 12th to the 14th, which I just so happen to be emceeing for the 6th time in a row. So it's always going to be a really fun time. There's I don't even know how many people show up to that thing, but there's 6-hour traffic at the worst times to get into Marionville. That traffic backs up like tens and 50s of miles into this place because of this event. So it's really cool. Then I'm going to Michigan. I'm going to the Lower Peninsula, Upper Peninsula, doing a library tour up there. I cannot wait to get bit by all the bugs that are going to be up in the Upper Peninsula.
Or the Dogman.
Yeah, or the Dogman. I'm going to be looking for that too, because, like we said, why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then we got the Carolina Cryptid Fest and the Uarty Bigfoot Festival, Central Pennsylvania Bigfoot Festival, the Hollow Con, Indiana Bigfoot Con, Maine's Horror Con, Maine's Paranormal Bigfoot Festival, the Underworld Culture Con in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Then wrapping the year up with the Overland East, Maine's Bigfoot Festival, and the West Virginia Bigfoot Festival, all in October. So just a couple things.
Outstanding. That's what you call a stacked schedule. That's like an NBA roster.
If anybody's interested or didn't catch what I just said, you can go to my website, www.shadowofredeye.com, and all my appearances, scroll down a little bit, are right there for anybody to take a look at.
Absolutely. And I'll make sure I put links to your website and your brilliant YouTube channel.
Oh, thank you.
As in the show notes for everybody to check up on. And as I say, I think usually the best people in this field are humble, Mike, and you are certainly one of the most humble people in it, which is good. But don't do yourself down, because your channel's outstanding for many of the reasons I've mentioned, and you're a great researcher because you're a great guy as well. And I wish you all the very best. And I hope it won't be 3.5 years till I speak to you again, and the next time we talk, you've got the big man on camera.
Well, thank you very much for all the kind words. I truly appreciate that. And let's not let it be that long. Let's do this a little bit more recently next time, shall we?
Absolutely. I'll wait till you've got everything out the way first, though, this year.
All right. Yeah, that sounds good. It may be hard to contact. Maybe I may be hard to find come these next few months coming up. So that, and there's, where I normally go camping, there's no cell phone service too. So that kind of puts a damper on trying to run a business and things. So
no problems. Well, as always, thank you, and always take care.
Paul, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I appreciate your fans as well.